Hello, I'm Shirley, a 31-year-old office worker. A year ago, I married Mason, a man I met on a blind date. After a year and a half of dating, he proposed. It had always been my dream to settle down, so I accepted, even though it felt a bit rushed. Reflecting now, I realize I should have approached things with more caution. Shortly after our wedding, Mason made the surprising decision to change jobs. When I asked him why, he explained that his previous role hadn't allowed him to showcase his talents. To my shock, he had already resigned and planned to leave his job at the end of the month. He quickly secured a new position, but it paid less than his previous one. Initially, I wasn't too worried because I was employed too. However, soon after, Mason began insisting that I quit my job. I might have considered it if his new salary could support us both, but it was lower, and he kept promising it would increase soon without any clear timeline. Quitting under such uncertain financial circumstances felt reckless. We relied on my income to save and cover our basic expenses, like rent and car payments. It simply wasn't feasible to depend solely on Mason's reduced salary. One evening, Mason confronted me with divorce papers, seemingly to intimidate me. "You know I'm ready for this whenever," he declared. I urged him to calm down and reconsider his words. Unfazed, he retreated to his room. This confrontation made me reflect on the hasty decisions and unexpected twists that had come since meeting him. I told Mason I wouldn't quit my job until his salary improved. He seemed to accept this at first, but the topic kept resurfacing. Every time he brought it up, I reiterated my stance. Now, a year into our marriage, his salary hadn't changed, yet he continued to press the issue. "When are you going to quit?" he would ask. Though I often wanted to snap back sarcastically, I restrained myself, knowing our financial stability hinged on my income. If quitting was so important to him, I felt he should focus on advancing his own career. As time passed, I began to understand why Mason was so adamant about me leaving my job. This became especially clear during our visits to his parents. Whenever we were with his mother, Martha, Mason would express his desire to ease her burdens. She would thank him, and then he would look at me pointedly, as if urging me to resign. He claimed his mother needed help, but Martha was far from helpless. She was active, healthy, and even had a part-time job that supported her hobbies and social life. It became evident that she didn't need my assistance. Yet Mason persisted. "If only one of us could be home during the day, we could check on Mom regularly," he once suggested out of nowhere. It sounded overwhelming and unnecessary. When I asked him what exactly he expected me to do, he listed mundane tasks like housework and errands. It was clear he had specific ideas about my role, yet none warranted abandoning my career. This ongoing cycle of requests was exhausting. I needed Mason to recognize that while I was willing to support his family when necessary, quitting my job without a valid reason was not a decision I could make lightly. "But Martha has her part-time job and spends most of her days out with friends, right?" I countered when he suggested I handle housework during the day. His response left me baffled. Was he suggesting I become his mother's maid? Mason seemed more concerned with maintaining a particular image in front of his parents than addressing the reality of the situation. If he was so eager to care for them, why wasn't he tackling the household chores himself? Despite his insistence, I stood firm in my decision not to quit my job. I also chose to limit my visits to my in-laws, making an effort to see them only during major holidays. In reflecting on these visits, I noticed a pattern. Mason often delegated tasks to me. He would ask me to tidy up, assist his mom, or run errands. I pushed back against these requests. When he suggested I go to the store, I would retort, "Don't you know this area better than I do?" His response was always that it wouldn't look right for him to do it himself, a rationale that felt both puzzling and manipulative. It seemed he was more focused on controlling the situation and maintaining an image of familial care than genuinely caring for either his parents or me. Over time, my perception of Mason shifted. It seemed he was more invested in appearances than in true affection or respect for me. When I finally confronted him, asking why he didn't help out or consider quitting his job to care for his mother, his reaction was revealing. He looked disgusted and uncomfortable, saying, "That's not something I'm supposed to do. I'm giving you these instructions so my mom will think you are a considerate, useful wife. I hope you realize how kind I am to you." His words laid bare his intentions. He wanted to offload all the demanding tasks onto me and present himself as virtuous for doing so. But I am not his servant or subordinate, nor do I deserve to be disrespected in front of my in-laws. It became increasingly clear that Mason's priorities were skewed, valuing appearances over genuine partnership and support. If Mason continues with his unreasonable demands, I refuse to remain silent. I'll stand my ground. Despite numerous discussions, he shows no signs of change, constantly pestering me with the same old question, "Are you going to quit your job?" Each time we visit my in-laws, he insists on bossing me around, just as he always has. Reaching my breaking point, I knew it was time for a serious conversation. "We need to talk about our future," I began, hoping to steer the discussion toward something productive. "What are you trying to say?" Mason snapped, clearly irritated. "I'm honestly fed up. I'm tired of you nagging me about quitting my job, and I'm exhausted from the pressure to care for Martha." I laid out my concerns. "Why do you feel that way?" You're my wife. It's your responsibility to help take care of your husband's parents. He shot back. But isn't it a bit much to place that burden entirely on me? Shouldn't you, as their son, be responsible for helping with housework and looking after your parents in the first place? I challenged his outdated views. Absolutely not. It's the wife's job to do it. Are you saying you don't care about family? Mason accused, his frustration evident. I'm disappointed to hear you say that. Sensing a chance to highlight the double standard, I pressed. Let me ask you this, how have you been caring for my parents? If I asked you to look after them, would you do it? Mason stared at me blankly, clearly not grasping the connection. What do you mean? Why should a husband take care of his wife's parents? So, does that mean you won't care for my parents now or ever? I pressed, trying to underscore his inconsistency. The responsibilities for each set of parents are completely different, he replied, missing my point entirely. What difference does that make? I asked, my frustration growing. I didn't realize you were so oblivious. It's like talking to my old boss. I continued, disheartened by Mason's lack of understanding. What are you talking about? Mason asked, confusion etched on his face. I'm saying that your parents should come first, and you should also take care of my parents, I explained, trying to stress the importance of mutual support and shared responsibilities. Frustrated, I added, so you only prioritize your own family by blood? I'm incredibly disappointed in you. I won't be visiting your parents anymore. Why would you do that? Enough is enough. I'm the one who wants you to stop this nonsense, he retorted. No way, how dare you talk back to me? My mom is right, Mason shot back, his temper rising. Ha, Mom said you're a badly behaved wife, that's why she gave me this. He pulled a piece of paper from his bag, revealing divorce papers. What, you had divorce papers ready? I was taken aback, but Mason appeared almost proud. See, I scared you, didn't I? I'm prepared for this anytime, so think about what you just said, he said smugly before retreating to his room. Unbelievable, how can Mason be so selfish? That triumphant look on his face, it's obvious those divorce papers are just a threat to make me comply, and with Martha involved, my suspicions deepened. Mason is acting like a puppet for his mom, trying to control me while following her orders. It's absurd. I won't let him manipulate me like this. How can he not see that our marriage is falling apart? His ignorance just frustrates me even more. Mason had already filled out the divorce papers and handed them to me, signed with witnesses, including Martha and his friends. This meant I could file them whenever I chose. The next day, after Mason left for work, I filled out the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office. To be safe, I also filed a notice of non-acceptance for the marriage certificate. I called my parents to explain the situation, anticipating that Mason might threaten to file a marriage certificate on his own. Initially shocked by my decision, they quickly rallied to support me. Outraged by Mason's behavior, they offered to help me move my things. I took a leave from work, and my parents came over to help relocate my belongings to their house while Mason was away. I decided to stay with my parents for a while. For the first time in ages, I felt truly comfortable and at ease in their home. Reflecting on my marriage, I realized that Mason had never pulled his weight around the house. I was the one cooking dinner after long workdays and managing all the cleaning and laundry on my days off. On top of that, he expected me to care for his parents, which was simply unfeasible. That evening, Mason called, probably just back from work. Hello? Hey, where are you right now? He asked. I'm at my parents' house, I replied. Why would you go back there without my permission? And where's all your stuff? Don't tell me you're staying the night, he demanded, his tone revealing surprise and entitlement. I almost laughed at how oblivious he was, thinking I was just staying overnight when I had taken most of my belongings. I'm not coming back, I said firmly. What are you talking about? Come back here and make me some food, he ordered. Make it yourself, I replied, ending the call. I couldn't entertain a conversation about divorce if he continued to dismiss me like that. I decided to wait for him to come to my parents' house and blocked his number for some peace. A week later, Mason showed up at my parents' home, flanked by his parents. They all wore serious expressions as we faced off in the living room, 3 against 3. How could you do this? How could you leave without my permission? Mason demanded, incredulity and accusation in his voice. You were treating me like a housekeeper, Mason. All I ever asked was that you take care of your family responsibilities, I responded, standing my ground. That's not true. What kind of wife am I if I don't take care of Mason? Martha glared at me, her eyes fierce. My father trembled with anger, but I quickly interjected. Mason told me to quit my job and care for Martha, claiming it was my duty as his wife. Yet when it comes to my own family, he expects me to manage everything alone. Ultimately, Mason wants obedience and expects me to take care of his parents while he takes the credit for it. That's why he prioritizes his parents over mine. Have you heard Mason say these things? Martha continued to glare, but Liam looked confused, indicating he hadn't been aware of this before. Let me clarify something, Mason said abruptly, bringing up the divorce papers and insisting it was all Martha's idea. Why would you suggest that? Liam asked, clearly taken aback. Oh no, it's because Camila has an attitude problem, Martha stammered, flustered. And did you say that Camila's parents aren't a priority? I pressed. Well, naturally, your parents come first, Martha shot back defensively. That's absurd. I came here to support you after hearing about the unfair treatment Camila endured. Yet it seems like you're the one in the wrong. Don't hide behind her parents' authority to justify your behavior, Liam said, making Mason visibly shrink in his seat. Liam then turned to me and my parents. I sincerely apologize for the trouble caused by my foolish son. I will have a serious talk with him. Liam, you're not to blame, so please don't apologize, I reassured him. Thank you for your kindness, but there's something else I need to say, I continued, turning to a nervous Mason. About those divorce papers you gave me, I've already filed them. We're no longer married. Both Mason and Martha went pale. Why did you file them without my permission? Mason demanded, shock evident in his voice. You told me I could file them whenever I wanted. Besides, you had already completed your part and had Martha sign as a witness, I explained calmly, but Mason seemed at a complete loss for words. Seeing the rising tension, Liam, furious, stepped in. Mason, you used divorce as a threat, he exclaimed, and unable to hold back his anger, slapped Mason across the face. Martha looked visibly shaken at the sight. Liam turned to me, his expression sincere. I deeply apologize that you had to witness this. You have every right to divorce this fool. On behalf of Mason, I'm truly sorry for the mess he's made of your marriage, he said, gripping Mason's collar tightly as he demanded apologies from both Mason and Martha before ushering them out of the house. Later, I expressed my gratitude to Liam for his intervention. He assured me that all of Mason's assets and property would be transferred to me without issue. Given my higher income and the efforts I had made to manage our household, it was a huge relief to secure everything from our marriage. I later learned that Liam had divorced Martha, clearly appalled by her actions. One day, I ran into a colleague from Mason's old workplace who shared some surprising news. Mason had been struggling at his job and frequently received harsh criticism from his boss. In a fit of defiance, Mason resigned and switched jobs, which only fueled my frustration with him. Rather than owning up to his shortcomings, he continued to blame others, which likely contributed to his lower pay at the new position. Now, I feel relieved to have left him behind. I've rented a cozy apartment and am enjoying my newfound independence. Work is going well, and I recently received a raise. At this point, I'm not interested in relationships. I want to focus on my career. Mason always prioritized appearances over genuine abilities, maintaining a facade at home while failing to advance professionally. Unfortunately, many spouses wield divorce threats as a form of leverage, mistakenly thinking it gives them power. I hope they come to understand the folly of their actions and find happiness on their own. As for me, I'm grateful to have moved on from Mason and look forward to the possibility of meeting someone special when I'm ready.